Hey beautiful friends, how are you doing today? I am so excited to do another video for you. But before I jump into it, I just wanted to give you a quick update on my last video I did about the Sephora Starter Witch Kit. I just saw online that they are actually going to stop that project, so it's no longer going to be released this October. So I guess there was a considerable amount of outrage about it from all sides. So that was a really interesting event. I didn't expect them to actually not release it, but I guess the power of the internet, right? And it was so interesting hearing all your thoughts and ideas and comments about this in the comments of my last video. So if you didn't have a chance to check that out, I'll post that video in the description down below in case you want to get caught up on that issue. But for today, we are doing a tarot spread video. So I will be showing you how to do elemental tarot spread. So this is a tarot spread based around the 4 classical elements of earth, air, fire, and water. And it's all about understanding the balance between those 4 elements and achieving that balance within our own lives. So this is a bit of an unusual tarot spread. It's a bit different than some of the other spreads that I tend to do for my tarot clients, but it is one I try and do for myself at least once a month. So I would love for you to follow along at home or try it out later, and I would love to hear your thoughts and comments about this particular tarot spread. So if you are new here, do please take a moment to like and subscribe so you can get more content about tarot, paganism, and magic. So let's jump right in. Okay, this is how I usually set up my table for an elemental tarot spread. So what I have here is my tarot deck, and for this spread I will be using the Pagan Otherworlds tarot deck. And this is definitely one of my go-to tarot decks. I use it for a lot of different types of readings, and I find that it works really well for an elemental spread. And I also have a representation for each of the 4 elements. So up here north I have a quartz crystal, and I currently have my deck below the quartz crystal, so it's absorbing that earth energy. I also have a couple little things for the west for water. So I have some seashells and some sea glass in a bowl of shallow water. And then I have a smudge stick for east for the element air. And then I have a candle here in the south for fire. I actually got this one pretty recently for autumn this year. Kind of morbid. It says autumn's death on there, but it smells great and I think it'll work just fine for this tarot reading. So the reason I have the 4 elemental representations here is because I am charging the deck with each of the elemental representations. So for example, it's been underneath this crystal here for a little while, so it's already absorbed some of that energy from the north. And then you can take your smudge stick here and light that up. And I just light it a little bit. Get that going. And then what I like to do is take the smudge stick and just run that smoke over the deck a couple times. I usually do it 3 times in a clockwise direction. So at that moment, the deck is cleansed with the element of air. Then for the element fire, I'm going to take my matches again, and we are going to light this candle. So I usually just pass the deck over the warmth of the candle 3 times in a clockwise direction. And then I will move this out of the way. I usually tend to keep it lit for the duration of the reading though. And then lastly, for west, or for water, I just take a little bit of water and just sprinkle just a drop or so onto the top of the deck. And I'll move the water representation, or the representation of the element water, to the side. So now we have our deck that's been cleansed with all 4 of the elements. So the next thing I do is I shuffle my deck. And there are a wide variety of different ways people like to shuffle. I tend to do a classic bridge shuffle, just kind of like you would for a deck of playing cards. And sometimes it can be a bit tricky when you're using a tarot deck and doing a bridge shuffle because the cards are very wide. So just to be cautious that it takes practice, and it's okay if a couple cards fly out as you're doing it. So a lot of other people, especially those who like to read reversals, will do their shuffling in kind of a go fish style, where you kind of just move them all around the table and then compile it back to a deck. So I usually shuffle 2 or 3 times, and then I go through cutting the deck as many times as I feel appropriate. So I kind of just, at this point, I am using my intuition to see when would be a good place to stop. So sometimes I might just cut the deck once. Sometimes I might cut it 6 or 7 times. I'm basically just sensing out to feel when I think that the deck is ready for the reading. So I think I will stop here. And what we're basically going to be doing is we are going to be drawing a card for the north, for the east, for the south, and for the west. And the goal is for the card in the north to be a Pentacles suit card, because Pentacles represents Earth. And if it is in the Pentacles suit, and the first card I draw is a Pentacles card, that can indicate that right now my Earth energy is really balanced in my life. Moving to the east, the goal is to draw a swords card, because swords are associated with the element air. In the south, I want to draw wands, because that's fire. And then in the west, I want to draw cups, because that's water. Now, if I don't get a Pentacles card in the north and a swords card in the east, a wands card in the south, and a cups card in the west, then I just keep going. And I notice how long it takes before I get the card in the correct position. So it's easier shown than explained. So let me jump right into it. So I'm going to start off with drawing 4 cards. So I'll put 1 card in the north, 1 card in the east, 1 card in the south, and 1 card in the west. So let me see what I get here. So my card for the north, this is the Queen of Swords. So that is not in the Pentacles suit. So that is not in kind of a representation that I'm very balanced with my Earth energy. I'm gonna have to do 1 more round here, which is fine. That'll tend to happen. Sometimes you might go 6, 7 rounds until you kind of equalize that energy. So then moving on to the east, Pentacles. So nope, that should be in the north. So south, let's see if we get wands, and we do not get wands. And to the west, let's see if we get cups. We do not get cups. So right off the bat, you can see that I will need to do at least 1 more round. And the more rounds it takes, the more that indicates that you need to focus on bringing that particular elemental energy into your life. So what I tend to do is I just draw another set here. And then flipping these over, in the north, do I get pentacles? Nope. Let's see, in the east, do I get swords? Yes, I do. So this is now done. I can stop there for swords. And in the south, let's see if I get wands. I do not get wands. And then in the west, let's see if I get cups. I get the lovers. So whenever I get a major, I take it out and put it to the side. And I'm gonna think about that a little bit later after all of the other elementals are equalized. So I'm good with swords now because I got swords in the east, and swords is associated with the element air, and east represents air. So I'm good right here, but I still need to keep drawing for these three. So I'll put one more down. Okay, in the north, let's see if I got pentacles. Yes, I did. So I am done over here. I'm done over here. South, let's see if I got wands. Okay, I did not get wands, but I got another major, so I'm going to put that to the side. And then here in the west, let's see if I got cups. I did not. So I need to go again with south and west. Okay, south. Nope. And west. Yes. So, oh, that's really interesting. It ended on the Two of Cups with the Lovers card. I'll go back to that in a second. So still we're on south. We need to get a wands card here in the south. Let's see if I did. And we got another major here. So we got the Empress. So I'm putting that to the side. Let's try again. Yes, finally. So now you can examine your 4 elements here. So the first element that equalized was air. It only took me 2 cards to reach a swords card in the correct position. And that would mean that right now I have a good abundance of air in my life, that I'm, air being a representation of things like intelligence, communication skills, and a sense of authority and power as well. And I am an air sign, I'm a Libra, so I often tend to be more connected to the air element and to the sword suit in general, so I'm not surprised. And then the next suit that I was able to get in correspondence was the Pentacle suit in the north. So that only took me 3 cards, so not bad. So that indicates that I'm doing pretty well with my earth energy in the moment, and earth energy is associated with things like a stabilizing force. It can be associated with your material world, so your business, objects around yourself, even your physical body. So doing pretty good in that realm. Now over here in the west, it took me 4 cards before I got a cups card, and then I ended up with the 2, and then I also got the Lovers. So that's really interesting. So that's not too bad, it taking 4 cards to before it's equalized. And I think it's especially interesting that I got the Lovers plus the 2 of Cups. Now, a lot of people think that the Lovers card is one of the best cards to get for relationships, but in fact, it's the 2 of Cups is the best card to get. Oftentimes, the Lovers card will indicate a specific choice that needs to be made. This card is ruled by the zodiac sign Gemini, so there's that sense that there are 2 roads opening up before you and you need to decide which one to go down. Or in the relationship context, it can represent the beginning of a relationship. Just like here how Adam and Eve are in the Garden of Eden. So this is before the fall, but it doesn't indicate any long-term relationship success potentially. But this card does. This is the card of relationship commitment. So this is a pretty good sign that these 2 cards combine, that relationship-wise, I'm doing pretty good, that I still have that passionate energy represented in the beginning from like a Lover's card, but also there's long-term potential. So that's a really kind of interesting mix that I got there. And then down in the wand suit, this took me a long time before I finally equalized that energy. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. So this indicates I really need to bring in more fire energy into my life. So bring in more passion, more enthusiasm, more confidence into my life. And it's interesting too, the cards here I got the Empress. And the Empress is a card that often represents things like femininity, fertility of the earth, beauty. Oftentimes this card is connected with the goddess Venus. So perhaps by connecting more with Venus and with that fiery passion that she has as the goddess of love, that'll help bring in some more of that fire energy into my life. And then the other one is the Hierophant. And the Hierophant here is shown more as a kind of a spiritual teacher or a spiritual guide. Oftentimes he's shown a bit different in other decks, but in this one, in this particular guise of the Hierophant, I think this indicates another way that I can bring more of that fire, that passion, that energy into my life is through spending more time on teaching. So that's kind of how I incorporate the majors when I do get them into this elemental reading. And I usually do one of these once a month, so I kind of like to check in with each of the elements at the beginning of each month or so. And each of the 4 tarot suits and each of the 4 elements really represents an aspect of the self. So with the Pentacles, you have kind of the physical or the material self. With Swords and Air, you have the mental self, the mind. And with Wands, you have the passionate self or the spirit self. And with Cups or Water, you have the emotional self or the love, the romantic, creative self. So it's kind of a way that I like to check in and see how I'm doing. And right now it looks like I'm doing pretty good with these 3 elements in my life being in balance. But here I need to do some more work. So in an ideal situation, I would have drawn right away a Pentacles in the north, a Swords in the east, a Wands in the south, and a Cups in the west. But I didn't. So the goal is to kind of balance that energy. So when I do this reading again in a month, I'll be a bit closer to reaching that balance. So that is how you do an elemental spread. So I'd love to hear from you guys what you think of this spread. This is a very unusual tarot spread. It's not like a traditional spread, but I like to do it from time to time because I think it's kind of fun to mix it up. And it's also a good way to see how you have balanced those 4 elemental energies within yourself. So let me know what you think about this video and what you think of this tarot spread in the comments. And if you are new to my channel, do please take a moment to like and subscribe. And I'll see you next week. Bye.